Well, good morning. Senator Mikulski has a distinguished and long-standing record of supporting space science and the data returned from NASA's space missions. Her vision, deep appreciation of science has kept the United States at the forefront of astronomical research conducted with space telescopes. Senator Mikulski is committed to investing in programs that promote scientific research, education, and create a skilled workforce. Senator Mikulski is committed to investing in programs that promote scientific research, educate students, and create a skilled workforce. And today we are gathered here to honor Senator Mikulski for her service on behalf of the nation and space science, and on becoming the longest serving woman senator in Congress. Senator Mikulski. Welcome, Senator. We're honored to have you here today. Many family and friends and colleagues and guests have come to share this event. In fact, far too many to actually name individually, but I will actually just mention a few individuals. First, we are uniquely privileged to have with us the Senator's family who are sitting in the front. Welcome. A warm welcome to all our NASA colleagues, and especially Chris Scalise, the new Center Director at Goddard, and Colleen Hartman, who actually helped to make this all possible. Colleen, thank you. I would like to acknowledge, of course, Maryland's Nobel laureates, John Mather, and our own Adam Riess. And recognize our partners at Johns Hopkins University, in particular, John Bagger, Vice Provost, and Greg Ball, Vice Dean. We also have here David Rhodes from STScI, our longtime partners at the Space Telescope Science Institute. I would, of course, like to welcome our other Team Maryland supporters here and from APL, and, of course, the Senator's staff. Thank you for helping us make this event possible. I, of course, would like to recognize Bill Smith, the president of AURA. Where are you, Bill? There you are. Thank you. Our advisors, Kevin Kelly, who's somewhere around here, too. Thank you, Kevin. And representing Baltimore's business community, our distinguished advisor, Mark Lerner. Thank you, Mark. Particularly, of course, I'd like to thank everybody here at the Institute who worked so hard the last few days to make this possible. Thank you all. And before you get tired clapping, one more to go. Particularly the MAST team, who actually have invented a brand new way to do science using archives. Without them, we would not be here today, and we would not have this new way of doing science. You know, we've entered a golden age of astronomy. We explore the universe and the way it's changing by looking at data now that is gathered over many, many years in our archives, looked at by a fleet of telescopes. You can go back and recreate those observations. Astronomical productivity will continue to grow at an ever-increasing rate than any previous time in history because of the convergence of data handling, the computer, the internet, and all these technologies have come together. And the data archives that we're dedicating today are part of a vast amount of astronomical data that are not just stored, not just kept in dusty shells, but explored. And new discoveries are made every day with the data taken in these archives. People are harvesting those treasure troves every day of data stored in our archives. Half the papers that the Hubble Space Telescope now publishes actually comes from data taken, sitting in the archive. It's a remarkable achievement that the modern world has made possible. The data archives here at Space Telescope will soon house and serve the data produced by the James Webb Space Telescope. And Senator, thank you again for your steadfast support of JWST. JWST will revolutionize our understanding of the early universe, of how stars and planets formed, and maybe even give us the first indication of water around planets circling other stars. JWST is truly Hubble 2.0. In addition, a crucial change is taking place in our community and in the world around us. This new approach to data and the way we store it means that we're now seeing for the very first time the direct involvement of amateurs and citizens at large. Citizen scientists are now becoming directly engaged in a broad democratization of science. Science enabled by the publicly accessible archives that we now have. And our archive will soon be leading the way to broadening this engagement in NASA's missions, whose data we will curate here at the Space Telescope Science Institute. One of the strong recommendations of the National Academy of Sciences at the last decadal survey was that all astronomical data should be archived, and they explicitly called out the way NASA has done this, because NASA has done such a good job in archiving its data. It is quite unique in the fields of science that so many observatories can come together and actually use this data from all these telescopes. It's a unique national resource. But before we move on to dedicating the archive, beyond storing data from near normal, almost every kind of astronomical object, from planets to galaxies to stars to supernova, archives gives us that ability to look back in time, sometimes billions of years. And this is a slightly inelegant segue to introduce our next speaker, our Nobel laureate, Adam Riess, whose exploration of the distant past led to the discovery of the mysterious dark energy. Adam.
Okay, this is the light entertainment section. Many stars will end their lives in fiery explosions known as supernovae, where for a short period of time they can shine as bright as 10 billion suns, where they can shine brighter than the entire galaxy in which they live, and by being so bright, we can see them so far away with telescopes. With a telescope like the Hubble, we can see more than halfway across the universe by using these supernovae to illuminate what we can see. Here's a little video. Let's see, wait, I'm going back one. Okay. Here's the video. Here's a video of what it looks like when a supernova explodes. You don't want to be anywhere nearby, of course. And so this was not taken with the Hubble Space Telescope. We wouldn't want to cause that kind of damage. But no, in reality, though, the Hubble Space Telescope has a long history of observing supernovae, from supernova 1987A, which was the nearest supernova to our galaxy in 400 years, which taught us about how supernovae explode, to some of the most distant supernovae, like you see here on the left, that helped us see that the universe was not just expanding, but accelerating, propelled by mysterious dark energy, and this resulted in the Nobel Prize that Matt just talked about. Now, in the last 3 years, outfitted with its new instruments, the Hubble Space Telescope has undertaken a 3-year intensive survey called the Clash and Candles program. We have the PIs of that, Mark Postman and Harry Ferguson, here. And as part of that survey, we are looking for the most distant supernovae, which can tell us about the earliest times in the history of the universe. Now, in January of this year, we found a very special supernova with the new camera. This is a supernova that is 7.5 billion light years away. So that means the light has been traveling for 7.5 billion years to make its date with Hubble and get imaged. This is long before the Earth was here, the solar system was here. It's more than half the age of the universe back. And so we thought no better tribute we could make to the senator who's helped us learn so much about space science than to name this supernova in her honor. And so I show that here. This is the galaxy. And then we'll have a zoom in. And then we'll zoom in one more time. And one more time. And we'll see the new star appear. Now, like the senator, not only do these supernovae help us learn so much about the universe, they actually provide aspects, elements that are so important to our lives. For example, the calcium in your bones were synthesized in the center of a massive star billions of years ago, which exploded in a supernova, disseminating that calcium and other materials important to life. Those materials were swept up again into a new solar system, our solar system. There are other materials which are forged only in a supernova explosion. Anybody who's wearing gold or who has a gold Nobel Prize can thank a supernova, because a few seconds after a supernova occurs, the phase of neutron bombardment produces some of the heaviest elements, and then those are distributed to a planet like ours. So we just think this is a really fitting tribute for the senator because of how important these supernovae are to us. And finally, I want to say that if anybody or the senator wants to look for the place in the sky where her supernova is, you can look to the south. In this evening would be fine, but any evening in the summer or spring around 9 or 10 o'clock, here's the Baltimore skyline you see down here, and her supernova is in the constellation Sextans between Cancer and Leo. It's about 40 degrees up. You could just look down from the bright star Regulus, although don't look for this red X because you won't see it on the sky. And in reality, if you ever wanted to see the supernova, you'd have to use the Hubble Space Telescope. But I would be happy to co-propose with you to get some time on it. So thank you very much. And now Matt will talk about the archive.
Thank you, Adam. Now I will call on, wrong way. There we go. Now I will call on Bill Smith to actually dedicate our archive.
I feel enormously honored to be able to follow Adam and to be able to give the dedication speech, which is exactly one sentence, but I'm going to say a little more than that because I feel compelled. Everyone in this room knows the senator for her strong advocacy for what we are doing here at the Space Telescope Science Institute, for her, dare I say, actions to save Space Telescope, for her advocacy for everything that we do. But I happen to know that during her long career in the House and Senate, she has exercised the same kind of leadership in virtually every area of science. Her influence is beyond anybody's measure. What she has done in this area really applies across the board and is really part of her vision, which she has worked very hard on in the House and the Senate in terms of trying to understand the role of science and technology in our society, how it is connected to innovation and ultimately to our economic well-being. So we're a small part of this, but an important part. And I think that one thing that we as astronomers really are lucky in being able to do, that is to look at something like the archive, which will be extremely important and extremely long-lasting, and name this after the senator. This is a fitting tribute. So I think astronomers are able to look at things like supernova and archives that have this kind of quality, and I think that's very fitting for the senator's legacy. So with that, I feel very good to be able to have a small part in the ceremony today, and I will now say my sentence, which goes something like this. Senator Mikulski, just as you have been a tireless advocate for space science for decades, we feel this archive will be a permanent legacy for future generations. For this reason, I dedicate the archive, the Barbara A. Mikulski Archive for Space Telescopes. Thank you.
And Senator, before we conclude, we have one more message I would like to read out, and then we have a video. We have a message from one of your strongest astronaut fans, who, because of family commitments, couldn't actually be with us today. And he sent me a message he asked me to read out. Senator, as where is he? I believe he's actually under the ocean as we speak. Senator, as Deputy Director of Space Telescope last year, I saw firsthand how the MAST archive is the lasting scientific legacy of the great work that Hubble and other missions have done, and for the science data for our future missions. I became convinced there would be great discoveries lurking in the archive just waiting to be discovered. I could think of no more fitting name for the archive than the Barbara A. Mikulski Archive for Space Telescopes. Your tireless support for science and space astronomy has enabled the awesome science we've already seen. Your name attached to the archive will be a constant reminder to the community that you are a true friend of science as we unravel the mysteries of the universe using the MAST archive. John M. Grunsfeld, Hubble Hugger. And finally, a short video on how the community will be using your archive.
We are living in a golden age of astronomy where NASA's Hubble Space Telescope and an armada of other observatories are exploring myriad galaxies, stars, and planets across the universe.
The pace of discovery is accelerating. Vast amounts of astronomical data are being harvested and archived at a much faster rate than astronomers have the time for analysis. This means exciting new discoveries are waiting to be uncovered by future researchers who dig into the gold mine of stored astronomical data.
About a third of the papers are coming out of the new data that HST takes. About 2/3 of the papers, the HST papers that are being published today use archival data.
Besides 2 decades worth of Hubble data stored here, the archive is also home to 15 other NASA astronomy missions, stretching back to the 1970s. The archive hosts data from early pioneering space missions like the International Ultraviolet Explorer and the Copernicus Observatory. More recent additions are ultraviolet light views of galaxies from the GALEX mission and hundreds of far-flung planets from the Kepler Observatory.
The archive is especially important for my research because I study things that explode in the universe. I'm interested in how things change with time. So with the archive, I can look at that history of observations and find what telescopes happen to be observing that part of the sky when the supernova exploded.
Archival data is very important for my research. I'm trying to image and discover planets around other stars than the Sun. And in a recent results, I was able to measure the motion of planets around a particular star by looking 10 years back in time using archival data.
Supernova 1987A was the first naked eye supernova in 383 years. It's now 10 million times fainter than it was in 1987. We've never observed a supernova this early in its life, when the debris of the exploded star is just starting to be able to be spatially resolved. It's a completely unique phase for astronomers.
Nobel laureate Adam Riess found the archive invaluable for helping him understand the nature of dark energy.
We needed to look back to an earlier phase in the universe, see if the universe was slowing down before it began speeding up. And I looked through the archive and found what turned out to be the most distant supernova ever seen, and I was able to make a very important measurement that confirmed what we had seen.
Because of the internet and a powerful search engine, using the database is easier than ever. When the MAST was unveiled in 1990, it took a week or longer to fulfill a request. Now it's just minutes. And it's not only astronomers who access the archive.
It's given me the possibility of having students do projects that require actual astronomical data without allowing them to have access to a telescope at the same time. The archive provides a ready source of excellent quality data, but it's not prepackaged. They still have to sort it out just like they would data from a telescope.
As revolutionary as the Hubble Space Telescope has been, its greatest legacy may well lie in the archive that stores its data. With more missions to be added to this astronomical library, like the upcoming James Webb Space Telescope, astronomers expect groundbreaking science from this archive to continue many years after these missions end.
And so now I'd like to introduce somebody who needs no introduction. Senator Barbara Mikulski, the senior senator from Maryland.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Wow, it's something to see your name like that when you're used to seeing your name only on memos or bumper stickers. So this is kind of the coolest bumper sticker that you could have. First of all, good morning to all of you. And know that really I am deeply, deeply touched today. I'm thrilled and I'm honored to have, first of all, a supernova named after me. Supernova Mikulski 1, as I understand it. And the other is for the Mikulski Archives for the Space Telescope. It said that supernovas can radiate as much energy as the sun will emit over a whole lifetime. Well, that's the kind of energy I feel for you. Much has been said lately about me being the longest serving. And for me, it's not how long you serve, but how well you serve. And during the course of these great honors, I've not exactly encouraged people to name things after me. Usually it's a building that GSA runs. That wasn't too appealing. A post office that might or might not be closed. And a highway that they might want to sell to somebody. So, but when this was suggested, I gratefully accepted it because of what it meant and how deeply touched I was. But what I wanted to say is that as all this honor has come my way, you don't get to be me without a whole lot of we. And what I want you to know is that as this wonderful naming ceremony occurs, that I feel we're all in it together. And that from day one in the United States Senate, I felt we were all in it together in our quest to make Baltimore and to make Maryland the epicenter for Science Center and one of the epicenters for really space science astronomy. And whatever I've done, it's because of working with all of you. You know, my job is to advocate for resources and to make sure that as we work with the agencies that they stay on track. But a great senator or a good senator can only work if she's advocating for the people who know how to get the job done. So when a great telescope works, to me, what I see is not only what the telescope produces, but I see fantastic people. I see all of you. I see you at Goddard. I see you here at the Space Telescope Institute, at Hopkins, APL, Wallops, and even around the world in places that I've visited. Great scientists, astronomers, astrophysicists, using the Hubble and other space telescopes to understand our universe. The computer operators who are translating data into images and saving it in the archives. To also the people who are the astronauts, who are willing to risk their life on 5 Hubble telescope missions to either fix it, repair it, rejuvenate it, refresh it, and send it on. To also the people who do education, those who work in the field of great higher education, on PhDs that keep us going, but as well as those teachers. Somewhere in the world, there is some teacher who's accessing the information about the Hubble. And then there's a lot of people who keep things going, the facility managers, even the cafe worker. All of you make up the great Hubble family. And here in Maryland, we have 3 Nobel Prize winners that have come from our space program. Dr. Giacconi, who was the founding father here at the Space Telescope Institute, a guiding voice, a prodding voice, and I might at times a relentless voice at times to make sure that I stayed on this. Dr. Mather at Goddard, and now Dr. Riess, who just so honored me by finding this supernova. So for all of you and around the world, just know that I'm deeply grateful. The work I've done is also because behind me is a great staff. I could not do what I do in the United States Senate with the great staff that I have. And that over the last couple of decades, that was we worked on the Hubble, with the Hubble, for the Hubble. Nail biting, white knuckle time. Oh my God, did it really work time have been there, and others. So there's Paul Carliner, Kevin Kelly, Gabrielle, and also my great support staff in Julia and in Shannon. So I think give them a round of applause. But as we look at the great supernova, I'm proud to have the archives for space telescopes named after me. Hubble, Kepler, Galax, and one day eventually the Webb. This archive holds 100 times more information than the entire Library of Congress. The archives of these telescopes are enduring legacy. Even after they stop collecting the data from the telescope, this information will continue to go on. But it's not only what lies in the repository of this fantastic digital library, it's because of what the library means. One of the reasons I accepted the honor was that it's open, it's free, it's available, it belongs to the common heritage of mankind. This library literally is paid for by the American people. It is owned by the American people. But unlike other places in the world, or in other eras and so on, often libraries were available only to an elite few, were kept even under lock and key if it didn't coalesce with a particular ideology of its time. It was only available to the well-connected or to the well-off, but not always to everybody. This digital library, which is so stunning in what it holds to be available, is available. To me, the most fantastic thing about it is that whether you are a teacher in South Baltimore, whether you're a young scientist in South Africa or South Korea, or maybe someone working in China who can't get a visa to come and visit us, that you can come and visit this digital library. And whatever is in your heart, whatever is in your skill, whatever is in your knowledge, you can use this information to advance either science or the cause of students or mankind. This is what I love about it, and I think you do too. It belongs to the common heritage of mankind. So when they dial up the Mikulski archives, I hope they get a little wink and an eye for them, and my message is go for it, just like all of you have. In the last couple of years, I've worked very hard for the Hubble because I just love the Hubble. You know, Dr. Riess talked about as the supernova moved at the speed of light 7 billion years for its meetup with Hubble. I too felt I had a rendezvous with destiny with the Hubble. Hubble has just celebrated its 21st anniversary, and it's been a stunning anniversary. Hubble has rewritten the astronomy books, revealing the age of the universe and essentially all of the information that we have. Hubble's been a frequent flyer. It's made more than 110,000 trips around our planet, traveling 2 billion miles, 2.8 billion miles, equal to the Neptune's distance from the sun. Hubble has been an educator and an ambassador. Because of the Hubble, again, it has taught people, but it's also been our ambassador to the world. It doesn't matter who you are, what country you are, what country you owe allegiance to, or what God you pray to, that you have access to the Hubble. I think that's phenomenal. And our astronauts have serviced it 5 times. And I was at Goddard Space Agency to watch the great repair work, and then Dr. Grunsfeld up there putting in that last instrument with that nut and bolt. I mean, if you're a senator, you know about nuts that won't move and bolts that won't move. And then we watched them close the hatch. There was the decoupling, and we watched the Hubble go on its final journey. It was a very emotional experience. But though the Hubble is off on its final journey, it is not the last of the great telescopes. So I say to you that this is just a motivator, this naming is just the motivator for me to not only look at what we've done, but to look at the future. This is why I'm working so hard to keep hope and help alive for the Webb telescope. And I believe we can do it under the management team that's being led by Chris at Goddard and all of you and Northrop Grumman. We will do the Webb telescope. And when we do the Webb telescope, and it launches once again in the next couple of years, we will secure America's place in astronomy for the next 50 years. We will be the premier country that will study science, advocate space science, study the universe, not to conquer it, but to share it with the common heritage of mankind. So for me, as I conclude, let me say, this is really a big day for me, and it's really a big deal. I just want to give some other thanks. First of all, I really want to thank God for this great honor. I want to thank my grandmother, who left Poland all by herself on a ship to come to America to meet up with her brother, with little money in her pocket and big dreams in her heart. Women didn't even have the vote when she got off of that boat in Fells Point. And in 3 generations, her great-granddaughter becomes a United States Senator, and in her own way has taken her own journey and helped all of you with the journeys that you've taken. This is an incredible country that enables you to be able to happen. I want to thank all those teachers who believed in me. I was educated by the nuns. They believed in me. They believed in me before I believed in myself. They knew about me before I knew about myself. They taught me not only the 3 R's, but the values, that we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. And that as you study science, it will never collide with religion, because if science is truth and God is truth, we're all compatible, and we all understand that. And then also for my own family who are here today, my fantastic sisters and wonderful brother-in-laws, my niece Val and her husband Caleb, the next generation, my nephew Emery and little Francesca, who immediately recognized it. They watched the IMAX Hubble, They call it Aunt Barb's Hubble, which is a good thing to do, and so on. So they're all here, and then last but not at all least, I'm going to thank my own mother and father, who owned a little neighborhood grocery store in Baltimore, but they believed in me, and they wanted me to know my Polish heritage. So I knew about Copernicus. They took me to see a movie about Madame Curie. I then got myself a little chemistry set. My sister Franny has been regaling everybody about how I was always blowing things up. It was kind of what I do at the Democratic caucus. And when I worked in that little row house in Baltimore with my little experiments, I wanted to save the planet. I thought maybe I could even save lives. I never thought I would grow up to save a telescope. But it has been for me a wonderful journey because people believed in me. And that's kind of the lesson of today. If we believe in each other, if we help be the best that we can be, to be best at what we're most needed for, we can make a difference. Each and every one of you has made a difference. And as we work together, we're going to make a change. Just change in the way we think about the world and the way we think about saving our planet. So the digital library will be open for any and all, and I hope that the world comes. And when they come, they know it's not only about our science, but it's about the democracy that produces a Barbara Mikulski, that produces all of you, and that produces the science that we want to share with the common heritage of mankind. So thank you for this honor. God bless you, and may the force continue to be with us. Yeah.
So very, very nearby.
But I'm also on the cusp of Rio.
Anyway, it's right nestled below both of them.
There you go. Well, this is just wonderful. So thank you.
So, Senator, thank you. This concludes the events here. There is now a reception at our cafe at Azifran, so I'll ask you all to go there, and the Senator will be joining you shortly. Thank you.